beautiful brand new car. BMW has unveiled a V8 M3, a car with a lot of potential.
A new M3, but the kicker was no six-cylinder engine now, but a brand new 4-litre V8, and that has really ruffled the Porsche feathers. They feel this car is not within the spirit of the regulations. Whatever the case may be, Fredrik Ekblom used that power effectively yesterday to claim the pole position. All may not be lost for Porsche, however. When you have big power, that uses fuel, and here at Donington Park with a 2-hour, 45-minute race, Porsche can get by with just one stop. BMW, unless they get a lot of caution period, will definitely need two, and that's going to cost them about 40 to 50 seconds getting in and out of the pits.
All right, Calvin, Martin, thank you, and let's talk about the weather just quickly for a second. We did have a rain shower maybe 30 minutes ago. The race was declared a wet race. All the teams put on their rain tires. Now it stopped raining, and that's going to throw the team's strategies into chaos at the start of the race. Donington Park is proving to be a very fun and interesting course for these sports cars. Bill Adam takes us for a tour around this 2.5-mile track. The GT pole sitter is starting back in 14th position overall, one of those controversial BMW M3s with Fredrik Ekblom. Qualified the car to starting. And the rest of the starting field, among the notables here, is the 12th starter. That is a brand new LMP 675 car from Dick Barber Racing. We'll tell you a little bit more about later in our broadcast. And the very last car in the field is the second of the BMW Works GT cars. They broke the engine warming it up before qualifying. JJ Lehto has to start last. He'll be fun to watch come up through the field. Talked about the BMW and JJ Lehto starting last in the field. We'll ride on board with him as he tries to cut through traffic and catch his teammate in the Porsches for the GT class win. Among the missing in that graphic are the Star Factory BMW drivers who are on track here today.
And there is the star right there. That is the number 42 car that started at the back of the pack. And he's literally flying through the pack right now. He's just having great fun, dicing, cutting, flying around the track. He's able to use all of the horsepower that this new controversial 4-liter motor is putting out. And the Porsche guys are very upset about this engine. We're going to get a look here, just what he's seeing. Now that's the Porsche following. This is an incredibly fast car. Watch this coming off the corner. Little smoke right there. Hopefully that ends in engine smoke, maybe just brake smoke. He's exiting down, no, he's heading down towards Melbourne here, I believe. Yep. You're going to see him go over the crest of a little hill. Now he's steeply downhill. The Porsche close up under braking, turning in. Watch the G-force on the bottom. You can see over 1 and the acceleration, 80, 90, 100. Very quick car. So gave Ferrari the 333 its first ever win in North America. He won the race at Road Atlanta with that car, so Jay has a good experience with these LMP cars.
Here's your GT class leader. This is the team car, the BMW M3. That's Fredrik Ekblom on board. First in GT, 14th overall, as you see there.
Now, just to explain more about why the Porsche drivers are so upset about this car, they're saying that you can't buy an M3 with a V8, which is correct. Nor can you buy any BMW with this particular V8. This is a custom-built, full-race motor. It's a beautiful piece of work. Is that they just simply have to make more pit stops because they have to feed the horses.
Let's talk about, when we talked about the point graphic earlier, why the factory BMW drivers weren't there. Because they're developing a new car.
Yeah.
This new 4-litre V8 motor, not a production engine, a purebred racing engine, caused problems to JJ Lehto and Jörg Müller's car in qualifying when they couldn't start it efficiently. And now in the race, the 43 sister car has struck a misfiring problem. It came in with only 5 cylinders of the 8 running cleanly, but they don't think it's a metal problem. They think it's an electricity problem. They're changing spark plugs, spark plug leads, spark boxes, in fact anything that'll give you a nasty shock, in the hope that they will get the car back in. And the clue is that A, Schnitzer never gives up, and B, Fredrik Ekblom hasn't even got out of the cockpit.
Well, it could be worse. We're in England, and you know how English electrics are.
I'm just not going there. I haven't had any problem with it so far. This is his teammate, JJ Lehto, who has also had problems. We saw Lehto charging up through the field after the engine problem that kept him from qualifying started last, had moved up in 12 laps to within 3 seconds of the Porsche that is now leading the class, but then had to come down pit road.
Apparently it passed under yellow flag, which is a caution flag, really. You want to take extra caution around the yellow flags. He apparently did the pass. We did not see it, but the officials wisely pulled him in, and you saw him throw up his hands in frustration.
Now Lehto is back on track, but he has fallen at the American Le Mans Series for 2001 in Castle Donington, England. Here's our leaderboard. There's the BMW coming back out to give it another shot. There are the leaders. We'll be back in a minute. The American Le Mans Series on NBC from Donington Park in Castle Donington, England, about a 2-hour drive north of London. You're looking at the race leader.
It is complete. I'm going to see a tyre change as well. So Martin Haven, more news.
Dramatic scenes in the BMW pit. The 42 car came in with Jörg Müller at the wheel. They completed a regular stop, but it's had damage on the right-hand side and now keeps bursting into flames around the exhaust exit port. Now the team is standing in place with fire extinguishers. The bizarre thing is that Jörg hasn't even turned the engine over at this stage. He expects a bit of flames back when he does start it up, but it doesn't seem to be related to the engine, so they have got a slightly more major problem than they thought they had when the car was half a lap away from the pits.
Martin, actually that is totally related to the engine. The flames were coming out the exhaust pipe. In fact, we can watch right now. There is something has broken in the fuel system, and instead of dumping small amounts of fuel into the cylinder, they must be getting giant amounts.
Fuel injection?
Fuel injection. Yeah. I would say a pump is broken.
So problems for the BMWs. The other car, the team car, was out earlier in the race in the garage a couple of times with electrical system problems, and now this one for Jörg Müller with the fuel system going awry. Part of the growing pains of developing a new power plant that this team is struggling through.
BMW flamethrower.
45 degrees and misty and foggy and somewhat rainy. Bill is from Miami. I'm living in North Carolina. I played golf in shorts on Tuesday of this week. This has been quite a shock to be over here for the last few days.
Yeah.
And it's been hard on these race cars too. Watch one of the Panos cars there try to work his way up through the slower cars. Wow. That's got to be tough to be one of these GT drivers and have to, you know, you're trying to concentrate on driving the fastest lap that you can around the racetrack, but you have to be looking in the mirrors and give way to the prototype cars at the same time.
You really do. You can have some very short races by not watching the mirror. You take 2 cars out of the race and potentially very, very dangerous. So it does take an added element of skill for these drivers.
Sasha Mawson is on board that Porsche that is leading the GT class. Lucas Lohr started the machine. Right behind them, the somewhat beaten and battered number 42 BMW that had its problems on pit road with the fuel system we saw earlier.
Now, this should be a good indication of just how much horsepower this BMW's got. They're going to go through a hairpin right here, coming out of the front straight. Now let's see how the 2 cars compare. Well, that's not that bad. I don't see very much to complain about there.
Well, again, though, there was one of the prototype cars coming by on the right, and Müller, who's driving the BMW now, probably saw that, knew he didn't have any room to pull out to try a pass. It starts off as your basic production car.
Now, here we have BMW playing a game with Porsche. I'll guarantee that his team manager says, go out, sit on his tail, try to rattle him, try and get him to make a mistake. Don't worry about passing. Just get there and look, move to the left, move to the right, occupy the mirror. Smart move by the Porsche.
Now the BMW is only probably, what, 30 laps behind him?
Exactly, and with Alex Job's experience here, he would probably radio out and say, let him go, don't take a chance.
Well, let's see exactly what he is behind him here. Looking down for where Jörg Müller is, he's 6 laps behind him.
That poor little car is really battered. You see both flares are missing down the right-hand side from a contact with one of the banks here. It's still spinning a lot. You know, maybe what it was one of the injectors might have been stuck while the car was stopped in the pits, allowed a cylinder to fill up with a lot of fuel, and as he turned it over, it couldn't possibly ignite it, but would push it down the exhaust pipe, and that's where it would ignite with the big flames.
We've talked a lot about the BMW GT car today.
The Audi comes on giving one final little wiggle to showing the horsepower.
So our winners head for the podium and the victory celebrations. GT class results now. It is a Porsche romp all day. You see the top 6 spots, all Porsche GT3Rs. Sasha Mawson and Lucas Luhr taking the top spot. In fact, the top 9 spots, all Porsches. The BMWs both suffering their share of problems early and often during the race today. Let's hear from our class winners in GT. Calvin Fish is with the Alex Job Racing drivers Mawson and Luhr.